It was only a few years ago that the whole concept of Sunday's Canada Day press conference at the big rink on Bay Street would have seemed wholly implausible to a Maple Leafs fan. John Tavares' seismic arrival in the blue and white, in what could ultimately go down as the most impactful free agent signing of hockey's salary cap era, meant Toronto's NHL team could suddenly make a case for employing the best lineup of centermen in the league. Austin Matthews and Nazem Kadri were already central to a team that set a franchise record for points last season. So adding Tavares, who has scored the 5th most goals in the NHL since he arrived in 2009, well, only a few years ago it would have been the stuff of Toronto pipe dreams, like LeBron James exiting the Eastern Conference. Now, Johnny T is in Toronto. And unless the Raptors meet James and the Lakers in next year's NBA Final, they'll no longer be calling it LeBronto. John Tavares says memories of cheering for the Maple Leafs as a kid returned to him as he signed a contract with Toronto worth $77 million US over 7 years. Tavares says he thinks the Leafs have a big chance to win the Stanley Cup. The Canadian Press, read more. Bruce Arthur, Tavares did what others wouldn't and came home to Maple Leafs. Maple Leafs hit and miss on NHL free agent market. Article continued below. Van Riemsdyk returns to Flyers. Bozak signs with Blues centers, specifically a center worthy of being called a No. 1, had long been the Maple Leafs' ever-elusive white whale. Before Toronto drafted Austin Matthews in 2016, after all, the Leafs had been searching for a quality man in the middle for most of the decade since the exit of Matt Sundin. And before the Maple Leafs were informed Saturday that Tavares wanted to join the team, the concept of adding depth down the middle meant picking up, say, a Tomas Plekanec or a Brian Boyle as a trade deadline rental. Even back in March, when the Maple Leafs were en route to setting a franchise record for points in a season, head coach Mike Babcock lamented what he saw as an organizational weakness. In the middle of the ice, we've still got to get way deeper, Babcock said. Though on Sunday even the never-satisfied Babcock had to tip his hat to Leafs management for a remarkable transformation. It's special, Babcock said, speaking of the center ice troika. How special? Combining the past 2 seasons, just 9 NHL centermen have compiled at least 40 even-strength goals. Matthews, with 61, Tavares, 43, and Kadri, 40, are 3 of them. The others are only named Connor McDavid, Eric Staal, Yevgeny Malkin, Sidney Crosby, Tyler Seguin and Sean Monahan. Longtime Islanders captain John Tavares and Leafs GM Kyle Dubas were all smiles at the press conference to announce the hometown star had agreed to a 7-year deal worth $77 million. Carlos Osorio, Toronto Star, suddenly, after too many years as center-starved pretenders, the Maple Leafs are the ones with the murderer's row of big shooters. For the die-hard supporters, Tavares' arrival was a triumphant moment, and not only because the world-class local boy finally decided to come home after Drew Doughty and Steven Stamkos only teased. Prosperity is best appreciated on the heels of misery. Certainly Leaf loyalists endured plenty of the latter when the team searched for No. 1 center depth in the post-Sundin personage of Nick Antropov and Matt Stajan and Tim Connolly and Mikhail Grabovski. Remember the summer of 2012 when Randy Carlyle had the brainwave to convert James Van Riemsdyk into a No. 1 centerman. Back then they were begging for 1 competent stud. Now they've got centers, plural. Article continued below. Today's top sports stories in your inbox. For headlines from the Star's award-winning sports journalists, sign up for our daily sports newsletter. On Sunday, the Leafs replaced the 36 goals that walked out the door when Van Riemsdyk signed with the Philadelphia Flyers with the 37 goals Tavares scored last season. They effectively replaced Bozak, who signed in St. Louis after a solid career in Toronto in which he, too, was occasionally miscast as a No. 1, with Tavares, only one of the great hockey prodigies the GTA has ever produced. Now we are beginning to see what a Kyle Dubas team is going to look like, and there's a lot to like. Now Babcock will have to coach the team without playing Leo Komarov 20 minutes a night, which was the coach's occasional vice. Komarov signed with Lou Lamoriello's Islanders on Sunday. Now Babcock will have to survive without Roman Polak getting a regular shift on right D. The veteran warhorse has signed with Dallas. But that's for another day. On Sunday, Leaf fans had the once unfathomable luxury of debating which of their two alpha dogs, Tavares or Matthews, ought to be worthy of the top-line role. It'll be up to opposing coaches to decide, really. If they see Matthews as the prime target of their top checking line, that'll only open up space for the units centered by Tavares. If they see Tavares as the shutdown priority, it'll be fun to watch Matthews make hay on second-tier competition. And as for Kadri, he'll be playing against relative chaff all season. No matter who ends up as the fourth-line center, and Swedish import Per Lindholm is the pre-training camp favorite to land the role, it's hard to imagine a team rivaling Toronto's talent down the middle. There'll be those who look at the downside of the deal. Considering Tavares' $11 million cap hit will be on the books through his age 34 season, there could come a moment when he can't possibly provide value for the money. Maybe instead of piling strength on strength in the forward ranks, Toronto should have spent its resources on improving its oft-maligned defensive core. Maybe, sure. But the options for improving the blue line simply didn't exist in free agency. And perhaps the best way to improve the defense is to improve the offense. It was hard to argue with the assets Toronto had to forfeit for Tavares' services. The last time the Maple Leafs acquired a no-one-worthy center in a transaction that didn't come courtesy of a lottery win a la Matthews, they had to give up team captain Wendell Clark coming off a 46-goal season to land Mats Sundin. All Tavares' cost was cap space. And if the Maple Leafs can make good on the bookmakers' prophesy, on Sunday the Maple Leafs were promptly installed as Stanley Cup favorites on more than one online betting site. Tavares will be remembered as the best money the franchise ever spent. Dave Fezchuk is a Toronto-based sports columnist. Follow him on Twitter, @DefezChuck.